When a ground fault circuit interrupter or GFCI outlet fails to trip during testing, several potential issues could be at fault. The first thing to consider is the wiring itself. Incorrect wiring is a common culprit. It's crucial to ensure that the GFCI is wired correctly, paying close attention to the line and load terminals. The line terminal should be connected to the wires coming from the power source, while the load terminal should be connected to the wires leading to other outlets or devices downstream in the circuit. A mistake here can prevent the GFCI from functioning as intended. Secondly, the GFCI unit itself might be damaged or faulty. Over time, electrical components can degrade, and a GFCI is no exception. If you suspect a faulty GFCI, the simplest solution is to replace it with a new one to see if that resolves the issue. Thirdly, some GFCIs have an internal breaker that can trip due to a high current draw or surge. If this internal breaker trips, the GFCI will not function properly until it's reset. To reset the GFCI, simply press the reset button located in the face of the outlet. Fourthly, the test button on the polarity checker or tester you are using might be too weak to reliably trip the GFCI. Inexpensive testers, particularly those built into simple polarity checkers, may not provide sufficient current to simulate a ground fault effectively. The solution here is to use a dedicated GFCI tester, which is designed to deliver the appropriate current to reliably trip the device. Fifthly, there might be an actual ground fault somewhere in the circuit. The ground fault occurs when electricity strays from its intended path and flows to ground. This can happen if there is damaged insulation or a loose connection. To rule out a ground fault, disconnect all appliances and devices plugged into the circuit and then test the GFCI again. If it trips with everything disconnected, then one of the disconnected items is likely the source of the ground fault. Sixthly, the outlet box itself might not be properly grounded. A properly grounded outlet box is essential for the GFCI to function correctly. Check the ground wire connection inside the box to ensure it's secure and making good contact with both the outlet box and the ground wire in the circuit. Seventhly, poor wiring, such as loose or corroded connections, can also prevent the GFCI from tripping properly. Inspect all wiring connections associated with the GFCI, ensuring that all terminals are tight and free from corrosion. Look for any signs of cracked or damaged wires that could be contributing to the problem. When troubleshooting a GFCI that won't trip, it's helpful to follow a systematic approach. Firstly, begin with a visual inspection of the GFCI and its surrounding wiring. Look for any obvious signs of damage, such as cracked plastic, burnt marks, or loose wires. This initial inspection can often reveal the source of the problem. Secondly, try resetting the GFCI by pressing the reset button. Sometimes, a GFCI can trip due to a momentary surge or transient voltage, and simply resetting it will restore its functionality. After resetting, test the GFCI again to see if it now trips properly. Thirdly, use a dedicated GFCI tester to verify that the GFCI is functioning correctly. A dedicated tester will provide a more reliable indication of whether the GFCI is tripping as it should. If the GFCI still doesn't trip with a dedicated tester, then the problem lies elsewhere. Fourthly, isolate the GFCI circuit by disconnecting all appliances and devices plugged into it. This will help to rule out the possibility of a ground fault caused by one of those devices. If the GFCI trips with everything disconnected, then you can systematically reconnect each device one by one until you identify the one that's causing the problem. Fifthly, inspect the outlet box to ensure that it is properly grounded. Use a multimeter to check the continuity between the ground wire and the metal box. If there's no continuity, then the box is not properly grounded and you'll need to correct the grounding connection. Sixthly, if all other troubleshooting steps fail to identify the issue, consider rewiring the GFCI or replacing it with a new one. Sometimes, the internal components of a GFCI can fail in a way that's not readily apparent, and the only solution is to replace the device. Remember that electrical work can be dangerous, so always take appropriate safety precautions. Before working on any electrical circuit, turn off the power at the breaker panel to avoid the risk of electric shock. Also, It is always a good idea to use insulated tools and wear appropriate personal protective equipment. The National Electrical Code, or NEC, provides specific requirements for the installation and testing of GFCIs. For example, NEC Section 210.8 specifies where GFCI protection is required in dwelling units, including bathrooms, kitchens, and outdoor locations. NEC Section 314.40 covers the requirements for boxes and fittings, including the grounding of metal boxes. If you're unsure about any aspect of GFCI installation or troubleshooting, consult a qualified electrician. It's always better to be safe than sorry when working with electricity. A GFCI works by monitoring the current flowing into a circuit and comparing it to the current flowing back. If there is a difference of more than a few milliamps, the GFCI trips, cutting off the power to the circuit. This happens very quickly, typically within a fraction of a second, which is fast enough to prevent a dangerous electric shock. One common misconception about GFCIs is that they protect against all electrical hazards. While GFCIs are very effective at preventing electric shock from ground faults, they don't protect against overloads or short circuits. Overloads and short circuits can still cause fires or damage to electrical equipment, so it's important to have proper overcurrent protection, such as circuit breakers or fuses, in addition to GFCI protection. Another important consideration is the age of the wiring in your home. Older homes may have wiring systems that are not compatible with GFCIs. For example, some older homes have two-wire electrical systems without a dedicated ground wire. While it's possible to install a GFCI in a two-wire system, it may not function as effectively as it would in a three-wire system with a ground wire. In some cases, it may be necessary to upgrade the wiring in your home to ensure proper GFCI protection. When installing a GFCI, it's important to choose the right type of device for the application. There are different types of GFCIs available, including receptacle-type GFCIs, which are designed to replace standard electrical outlets, and circuit breaker-type GFCIs, which are installed in a breaker panel. Receptacle-type GFCIs are typically used to protect individual outlets or small areas, while circuit breaker-type GFCIs are used to protect entire circuits. Another important factor to consider when installing a GFCI is the amperage rating of the device. GFCIs are typically rated for 15 amps or 20 amps, and it's important to choose a GFCI with the appropriate amperage rating for the circuit it's protecting. Installing a GFCI with too low of an amperage rating can cause it to trip prematurely, while installing a GFCI with too high of an amperage rating can reduce its effectiveness. When testing a GFCI, it's important to use a reliable tester that's designed specifically for that purpose. As mentioned earlier, inexpensive polarity checkers may not provide enough current to reliably trip the GFCI. A good quality GFCI tester will deliver the appropriate current and provide a clear indication of whether the GFCI is functioning correctly. In addition to testing the GFCI when it's first installed, it's also a good idea to test it periodically, such as once a month, to ensure that it's still working properly. If you ever experience problems with a GFCI, such as it tripping frequently or not tripping at all, it's important to troubleshoot the issue promptly. Ignoring a malfunctioning GFCI can put you and your family at risk of electric shock. If you're not comfortable troubleshooting electrical issues yourself, it's best to call a qualified electrician. They have the knowledge and experience to diagnose and repair electrical problems safely and effectively. Finally, remember that GFCIs are just one part of a comprehensive electrical safety plan. It's also important to have proper overcurrent protection, to use electrical equipment safely, and to be aware of the potential hazards of electricity. By taking these precautions, you can help to protect yourself and your family from electrical injuries. Also, it is imperative to check for any local electrical codes related to GFCI requirements in your area. Some areas may have stricter guidelines and requirements than others. These local codes are usually based off the NEC, but further restricts the usage of electrical devices to protect the public. Understanding the nuances of these local codes will go a long way to make sure that the electrical work done is compliant.